Lesson 2-2, linear functions and arithmetic sequences. When we look at linear functions, there are a couple forms that linear functions can be written. We have standard form, which is in the form of ax plus by equals c. We have slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, where your m is your slope and your b is your y-intercept. And then you have point-slope form, which means you have a point given and you have your slope. So it'll be y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Then we're also going to review using the slope formula, which is also known as y to the run, or changing your y divided by your change in your x. So first, we want to write these in standard form. A couple of things to remember when you write it in standard form. The greatest common factor of a, b, and c have to be 1, and a has to be a positive number. So and a is always going to be your x coefficient. So wherever your x is going to be, we need to make sure that that is positive. And then one last thing, we have to make sure that a, b, and c are all integers. So that means no fractions, no decimals. So right now, if we look at our equation, we have a fraction. We need to get rid of that fraction. In order to get rid of that fraction, we're going to multiply this whole side by the denominator. So if I multiply that by 5, 2/5 x times 5 will give me 2x. 5 times 14 would give me 70. So this side I have 2x plus 70. But whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other side. So I have to multiply this side by 5, and that's going to give me 5y. Now remember, our a has to be positive, which means our coefficient for x has to be positive. Since it's already positive where it's at, I'm going to subtract 5y on both sides. And then I'm going to subtract 70 on both sides. So now I'm left with negative 70 equals 2x minus 5y. I can put it also in another form. I can just put it as 2x minus 5y is equal to negative 70. And now I can label my a, my b, and my c. My a is 2, my b is negative 5, and my c is negative 70. Next, we're going to solve this one, but remember a, b, and c all need to be integers and the greatest common factor of 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my x's and y's to the same side. Since I don't have fractions, I'm not going to have to multiply anything in here, but I want to keep wherever my x is positive, I want to keep that positive. So that means I'm going to subtract 2y on both sides. Now I'm left with 0 equaling 10x minus 2y minus 16. The 16 has to go to the other side by adding 16. And now I have 16 equaling 10x minus 2y. You can keep it like that, or you can write it as 10x minus 2y equaling 16. I just flipped the two sides. It still means the same thing. I just wrote whatever's on the right-hand side to the left and what was on the left on the right. Now I can label my a. My a is 10, my b is negative 2, and my c is 16. Next, remove fractions, multiply both sides by the greatest common factor. So here we have two different fractions. So I want to get rid of all my fractions by multiplying this side by the greatest common factor, or the greatest common denominator. In this case, it would be 6. That means I have to multiply the left-hand side by 6. So I would have 6y equaling 12 divided by 3. 6 times 2 is 12. Divided by 3 is 4x. Half of 6 is 3. Now I want to get everything to once put this in the standard form, so it has to be an ax plus by equals equals C format. So my x is already positive, so I'm going to subtract 6y. And then I need to subtract 3. So I have negative 3 equaling 4x minus 6y. And I can rewrite this as 4x minus 6y equals a negative 3. My a is 4, my b is negative 6, and my c is negative 3. Example 2 says in 2013 there were 1.31 billion smartphone users worldwide. By 2017 there were 2.38 billion smartphone users. Write and use an equation to estimate the number of users in 2025. So we need to come up with an equation, and our equation, our x coordinate is going to be users, and our y coordinate is going to be the year. So if I write my 2 points, I would have 1.31 billion in 2013, and the other one would be 2.38 billion in 2017. So I need to come up with the equation, and we're going to put it into slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b format. I'm going to find my slope. So I'm going to use the formula y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus my x1. So I'm going to do actually I had these switched around. So the year, let's do that again. No, yeah, we'll do the year. The year is your x and the users is your y. So just like how they have it here in the problem. So this would be 2013 and 1.31 billion. And this would be 2017 and 2.38 billion. So I have 2.38 minus 1.31 divided by 2017 minus 2013. So 2.38 minus 1.31 gives us 1.07 all over 4. So divide that by 4, you get our slope being 0.2675. Now we could keep that as our slope, or we can run it to the nearest hundredth. A lot of times our decimals are going to be run to the nearest hundredth. So we would have a slope of roughly 0.27. So let's use 0.27 for our slope. So I need a y coordinates. My slope is 0.27. I need an x coordinate so I can find my b. I need to choose a point that we used. I'm just going to choose this point here. So my y is 1.31. My x is 2013. So I have 0.27 times 2013. That gives us 543.51 plus b equals 1.31. But actually for this one, since we don't know what they're going to start off with, we can't have a minus sign here. So what we're going to do is, if they're starting in 2013, so year 0 would be 2013. So this would be our starting point, or our b. So we would have y equals 0.27x plus 1.31. Now we're going to use that to estimate the number of users in 2025. So how many years is it from 2025 to 2013? And that was a total of 12 years. So if y is the total number of users, 0.27 in 12 years, what would it be in 2025? So I take 0.27 times 12 plus 1.31. We would get y equals 4.55. Remember, those numbers are in the billions, so this would be 4.55 billion users. Next, Felipe is renting a moving truck to move from Montgomery, Alabama to Tallahassee, Florida. The rental company charges a $29.95 flat fee plus 97 cents per mile that is driven. Estimate the total cost of renting the truck. So the first thing we need to do is write the equation. So it says the rental company charges $29.95 flat fee, so you have to pay that, plus 0.97 per mile. So this would be our rate. So I would have y equals 0.97x plus 29.95. My x will be the number of miles driven. So it says here that they drove 210 miles. So I would have 0.97 times 210 plus 29.95. That would give us y, the total cost. So 0.97 times 210 plus 29.95 gives us a total amount of $233.65. Example 3 says write an equation of a line that passes through 3, -5 and has a slope of 11 in point slope form. Point slope form, remember, means y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And your x1, y1 is the point that you are given. And then m is the slope. Okay, so we were given the slope. The slope is 11. So if I put 11 here, my x coordinate is 3. So that's x minus 3. And over here, I have y minus a -5. So I can simplify that to being y plus 5 equaling 11 times x minus 3. This would be our equation in point slope form. Next, write the equation of a line that passes through 13, -5, and 20, 26.5. Again, this is going to be in point slope form. So the first thing we need to do is find our slope. So this would be x1, y1, x2, y2. So if I use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, I would have 26.5 minus a -5 divided by 20 minus 13. So this will give us 31.5 divided by 7. 31.5 divided by 7 gives us 4.5. So I have y minus, I choose this point, y minus a -5 equals the slope of 4.5 times x minus 13, which would be simplified to y plus 5 equaling 4.5 times x minus 13. Now this is one possible solution. If you use the other point, you would have y minus 26.5 times 4.5 times x minus 20. That one would also work. So those are your two possible solutions you can have. Next, write this one in point slope form. We have a point, we have a slope of 7. So I would have y minus 6 equaling the slope of 7 times x minus a -2. Simplify that, we would have y minus 6 equaling 7 times x plus 2. Just make sure that is in your final answer. Don't have a minus, a negative. in your answer. Example 4, write and interpret a linear equation in points slope form. As the Tower of Pisa began tilting during its construction in 1178 and continued to move until restoration effort reduced the lean and stabilized the structure. The Tower of Pisa leaned 5.4 meters in 1993 compared to a lean of just 1.4 meters in 1350. Write an equation in point slope form that represents the lean y in meters of the Tower of Pisa X years after its construction in 1178. So we need to find our 2 points, but remember this is all from years after, so X is the years after 1178. So I'm going to convert the years. So how many years has it been since 1178? So our X would be our years, and our Y's would be the lean. So if I do 1993, if I did 1993 minus 1178, that would have been 815 years. And then the other one would have been 1350 minus 1178. And 1350 minus 1178 would give us 172. So one of the points would be 172. And in 1350, that was 1.4. The other point would be 815. And you have Lena 5.4 meters. So we're going to use that now to come up with our equation. And it has to be in, we're going to put this in point slope form. So I'd have y minus, if I did the first point here, I would have y minus 1.4 equaling, now I have to find the slope. I forgot to find the slope, so I'm going to do 5.4 minus 1.4 divided by 815 minus 172. So 5.4 minus 1.4 is 4. 815 minus 172 gives us 643. So 4 divided by 643 gives us 0.006228208 Since this one we can't run it to, it wouldn't make sense to run it to 2 decimal places, so we're going to put it to 3 decimal places, which would be about 0.006. Now I put 0.006 here. X minus the number of years would be 172. So that could be one of your equations you could use to solve. Or you could do y minus 5.4 equaling 0.006 times x minus 815. This one's the same. So those are your 2 possible equations you could have for that one. Next, in 2011, the Miami Marlins had about 11,000 followers on a social media site. In 2016, they had about 240,000 followers. Which equation represents the number of followers Y by the Miami Marlins? Why the Miami Marlins had X years after they joined the site in 2009. So the first thing we need to do is come up with our slope. You can see the slope in all of these, 45,800, except for this one they had as 11,000. So we know that one is not correct because that's not the slope. That is how many you had in 2011. So we know it cannot be B. So it looks like the slope would be 45,800. And they got that by doing 240,000 minus 11,000 divided by 5. They divided by 5 because 2016 minus 2011 is 5. So that's how you get the 45,800. Now you choose the points. You could choose the point, so how many years, so let's see, in 2009, how many years was it since they joined in 2009? So you would be 2 years since 2009 for 2011, and the number was 11,000. So they would have, so X of the years after they joined, so you would have 2, and then that would have been 11,000. So that would have been Y, or X minus 2, and Y minus 11,000. So the choice that gives us the right one would be letter A. Next, write and interpret a linear equation in point slope form. It says in 2012, the Americans consumed an average of 30.8 gallons of bottled water per person. In 2015, the amount of bottled water consumed was 36.5 gallons per person. Write an equation to represent the amount of bottled water Y consumed per person each year, X years after 2010. So in 2010, we got a point here, and we have a point there. So if we do the y2 minus y1, we're going to do 36.5 minus 30.8. And then we're going to do 2015 minus 2012. 36.5 minus 30.8 gives us an answer of 5.7. Divided by 3 gives us a slope of 1.9. And since we're trying to find after 2010, we use the first point here. That is 2 years after 2010. So that would be a point of 2. And then we'd have 30.8. So I would have an equation y minus 30.8 equals 1.9 times x minus 2. If I use the other points, then it would be slightly different. It would actually be 5 years. So we could do y minus 36.5 equaling 1.9 times x minus 5. That equation would also work. Next is looking at arithmetic sequences. So a sequence is just the same numbers in a particular order or pattern. Each number in a sequence is called a term. The first term of the sequence is denoted as a subscript 1, the second term a subscript 2, and so on. A finite sequence contains a limited number of terms, while an infinite sequence continues without end. You'll notice that you'll know it if it continues because you'll see the ellipsis at the end, which is the 3 dots. The sequence can be defined as a function. So sequence is a function. A sequence is a function in which the domain consists of a whole or natural numbers, and the range consists of real numbers. So the domain is 1, 2, 3 natural numbers. The range is a subscript 1, a subscript 2, and so forth. So then the terms of the sequence. So for an arithmetic sequence, it has a common difference. So it means you're adding or subtracting a number, or you can think of it, you're adding either a positive or a negative number to each term. For the first term is a subscript n equaling a plus n minus 1 times b. A subscript n is the nth term of the sequence. However, we're trying to find a subscript 1, or in this case, a is the first term of the sequence, and d is the common difference. In order to find the common difference, you're just going to subtract the 2 y values, or the y value with the previous y value. Because there is a common difference between each pair of consecutive terms, an arithmetic sequence is a linear function. Now there are geometric sequences. You don't need to worry about those because the geometric sequence is not linear. The number term or the term number n is the independent variable or your x. And a subscript n is the dependent variable, which is your y. D is the slope. The function of an arithmetic sequence can be written as f of n equaling a subscript 1 plus n minus 1 d, where n is the counting number. So again, here's your slope, here's your x coordinates, here's your y coordinate. Or not your y coordinate, your y-intercept. Okay. So our first example here, write an equation for the nth term of each arithmetic sequence, and then find the 15th term of the sequence. So the first thing we want to know is how is this sequence working? Is it increasing or decreasing? I can see that the numbers are decreasing, they're getting smaller. So I'm subtracting 4, subtracting 4, subtracting 4. So I would have a b of -4. Remember our formula would be a subscript n equals a subscript 1 plus n minus 1 times common difference. And if I were to substitute the numbers in, a subscript n equaling the first term, 7, plus n minus 1 times the common difference of -4. So that would be our part of our equation. Now we can simplify this even further. Now we're trying to find we're going to end up finding the 15th term of this, but first we need to simplify what we have here. I can still distribute. This would be a subscript n equaling 7 plus a -4n plus 4. So I would have a formula of a subscript n equaling -4n plus 11. There's my linear function. And now if I'm trying to find the 15th term, I would put a 15 in for n. And I would have 15th term equaling -60 plus 11 would give us a -49. Next example. Here they're telling us the 6th term and they're telling us the common ratio. Or not the common ratio, the common difference. Now for this one, I will have to find the first term before I can do anything else. So to do that, I'm still going to use that formula. Remember an, so I know the 6th term is 12. So a subscript 6 is 12. So if I put a 12 here, I need to find the first term. N is the term number, so 6 minus 1. The common difference is 5. Okay, so now I have 5 times 5 is 25, plus a subscript 1 equals 12. To get a subscript 1 by itself, I'm going to subtract 25. I would now have a -13 equals a subscript 1. So the first term is -13. So now if I do this, a subscript n, first term is -13 plus n minus 1, common difference of 5, distributes. So now I have a subscript n equaling -13 plus 5n minus 5. I get an equation of a subscript n equals 5n minus 18. And to find the 15th term, put a 15 for n. 15th term, 15 times 5 is 75 minus 18, give us an answer of 57. So the 15th term would be 57. So if you need those steps again here, you can see on the slide here all the steps are taken. Again, they're using the point slope form because we're given a point and we're given the slope here. In this case, the slope is d, or the slope is 5. So solving that. So this is another way of doing it instead of the method I used. So it's up to you which method you want to use, but here you can use this method as well. Next, write an equation for the nth term of each sequence, then find the 20th term of the sequence. So this one, I'm adding 6 each time, so my d is 6. My a subscript 1 is negative 14. So to find the equation, I have a subscript n equaling negative 14 plus n minus 1 times 6. So a subscript n would equal 6n minus negative 14 plus a negative 6 is a negative 20. So that's my equation. Now to find the 20th term, the 20th term, 120 minus 20 would give us 100. Next one, a subscript 3 equals 7. If I use the formula, a subscript n equals a subscript 1 plus n minus 1 times d. I need to find the first term. So the third term is 7 equals a subscript 1 plus our n. We were doing the third term minus 1, difference of negative 2. So that's 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. So a subscript 1 minus 4 equals 7. Add 4. I now have a subscript 1 equals 11. So my formula would be a subscript n equaling 11 plus n minus 1 times negative 2, which I get an equation of a subscript n equaling a negative 2n. 11 plus 2 is 13. Now to find the 20th term, negative 2 times 20 plus 13. So negative 40 plus 13 gives us a negative 27. So the 20th term would give us a negative 27. Next, write equation for the nth term of this arithmetic sequence and find the 13th term of the sequence. So here we are subtracting 9 each time. Our common difference is negative 9. First term is 56, so a subscript n equaling 56 plus n minus 1 times negative 9. I would have a subscript n equaling a negative 9n plus 56 plus 9. 56 plus 9 would give us 65. So now to find the 13th term, so negative 9 times 13 plus 65, the 13th term would give us a negative 52. Next one, the fourth term is negative 27, so I have negative 27 equals, I don't know my first term, plus the fourth term minus 1 times the common difference of 4. So this would give us 12 equaling negative 27. Subtract 12. I would have a subscript 1 equaling negative 39. So a subscript n equaling negative 39 plus n minus 1 times 4. Formula of a subscript n equaling 4n. Negative 39 plus a negative 4 gives us negative 43. Find a 13th term. So 4 times 13 minus 43 gives us an answer of 9. Next, the Karu is saving money to attend the summer music camp. He opened a savings account with $750 and deposits an additional $245 into the account every month. The balance of the account each month can be represented by a arithmetic sequence. So part A, we need to write the balance of Karu's account each month as a sequence. Part B, we're going to write the equation to represent the sequence. Part C, if the cost of the music camp is $3,000, after how many months will the Karu have enough money to attend the camp? So we're going to go through the first part. It says we need to find the initial amount. So what was it when you start off? It says open a savings account with $750. So we'll put 750 here. The first month, find the first month. It says it deposits an additional $245 into the account every month. So the first month, they're adding 245. So if they add 245, 750 plus 245 gives us 995. The third month, add another 245 to it, and you get 1,240. Now the common difference here is 245. Actually, the first month would give us 995. The second month would give us 1,240. The third month would give us 1,485. And the fourth month would give us 1,485 plus 245 would give us $1,730. Now that we have those, write the balance of each month as a sequence. So here we have a sequence of 750, 995, 1240, 1485, and 1730. So there's my sequence. Part B, we need to write an equation to represent that sequence. So we know that the common difference was 245. The first term was 995. Okay, because remember a subscript 1 is our starting point. So to put this in here, we need our a subscript n equaling our first term, which is 995, plus our n minus 1 times our common difference of 245. Then we distribute. So we have a subscript n equaling 245n plus, I'm going to do 995 minus 245 is 750, which is our starting amount they have in there. So that is our equation. Now, if the cost of the music camp is $3,000, how many months will our crew have enough money to attend the camp? So for this one, we're going to put 3,000 here. And for a subscript n, we don't know which term, 245n plus 750. So we're going to solve for n here. I'm going to subtract 750. So 3,000 minus 750 gives us 2250, equaling 245n. Divide by 245. 2250 divided by 245. N would give us, to the nearest hundredth, would give us about 9.18. Now we're not going to have part of a month, so we could estimate that to be about 10 months is when he would have that amount. And our last example here says Deja borrowed $1,600 from her parents to buy a car. Each month she pays them back $80. The amount Deja still owes after 10 months can be represented by an arithmetic sequence. Part A, write how much Deja owes each month as a sequence. Part B, write an equation to represent the sequence. And then C, after how many months will Deja have paid back the loan? So the first part is we need to find out how much Deja owes each month as a sequence. So this would be $1,600. And then she pays $80 each time. So subtract 80. So this would give us 1,520. Then subtract 80 again, and that'll give us 1,440. Subtract 80 again, that would be 1,360. And you can keep going, but four is a good amount to go with. Okay, part B. Part B, we're going to write an equation to represent the sequence. So this would be A subscript n equaling, our first term is 1,600. And then we're going to do plus. Actually, let's put this into slope-intercept form. So the slope is negative 80 because we're decreasing 80 every time, and you're starting with $1,600. So that would be our equation. Then how many months will Deja have paid back the loan? That means the amount has to be 0. Negative 80n plus 1,600. I'm going to subtract 1,600. And I have negative 1,600 equaling negative 80n. Divided by negative 80. Negative 1,600 divided by negative 80 gives us 20. So n would equal 20 months. And our very last one. Studies have shown that there's an optional number of times that small businesses should post on social media. Suppose a business has 142 posts on a social media platform. They plan to post 6 times each week. The total number of posts after n weeks can be represented by an arithmetic sequence. Write the first 4 terms of the sequence. So we're going to start with 142. And it says they plan to post 6 times each week. And the total number of posts after n weeks can be represented by an arithmetic sequence. So you're adding 6 each time, so then that would be 148, 154, and then a 160. Now we're going to write an arithmetic sequence, equation for the sequence. So if you're increasing by 6 each time, so that's 6n plus the starting point of 142. How many weeks will it have at least 300 posts? So we're going to have 300 here equals 6n plus 142. Subtract 142. 300 minus 142 is 158, equaling 6n. So I have 158 equaling 6n divided by 6, and would give us roughly 26.3 repeating. So if we were to round that, since it can't be exactly 26, it's going to be about 27 weeks. That's our lesson on linear functions in arithmetic.